A warm welcome to you all for our second Faith in the Future virtual symposium in this bicentennial year of Catholic education in Australia. The National Catholic Education Commission acknowledges Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first inhabitants and traditional owners of the lands on which all Australia's Catholic schools have stood and now stand. The NCEC expresses deep respect for the elders of these peoples, past, present and emerging. We've had over 1,300 registrations to this event and will make the recording available for educators and school communities who weren't able to attend today's symposium. Despite the restrictions that the COVID pandemic has brought to many of our communities, we've had a wonderful year of celebration recognising 200 years of Catholic education in this country. We launched our celebrations at the start of the school year, along with the national song, Faith in the Future by Father Rob Galea. The student video version of the song played just now showcases the talents and diversity of some of our students and communities across Australia. The National Mass was held in nearly every diocese in Australia on the 24th of May and was a jubilant celebration of all who have contributed to Catholic education over the past 200 years. We've also seen great participation from school communities in various events and activities such as Family Week and local celebrations. We've been very grateful for the support of our bicentennial partners, our principal partners, Australian Catholic Superannuation and Retirement Fund, the University of Notre Dame Australia and the Australian Catholic University, along with our gold partners, Catholic Church Insurance and Text Help. Before we welcome our special keynote speaker, Dr Lyn Sharratt, I would like to officially launch our commemorative book called From Humble Beginnings, Commemorating 200 Years of Catholic Education in Australia. The book features a history of the oldest existing Catholic school in each Australian diocese, starting from 1820 in Parramatta, right through to the Melkite School, Holy Saviour in Western Sydney, which opened in the year 2000. The stories feature some of the greatest heroes and heroines of Catholic education, including St Mary MacKillop, Father John Terry, and many other clergy, religious and lay women and men who established the early Catholic schools with little or no resources. Among the stories are Catholic education's connection to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, such as the early bilingual teaching of students at Beagle Bay in Western Australia. Across the continent, Sister Margaret Mary's first classroom was a veranda overlooking the blue waters of the Torres Strait on Thursday Island or Weyburn. The stories of our school communities are stories of diversity and inclusion, of resilience and persistence, of commitment to improvement and innovation, of great hope and faith in God and in the human spirit. These characteristics are reflected in each of the stories of the schools featured in this collection. They stand as a tribute to the many hundreds of stories that are shared and continue to be written in Catholic schools. In producing this book, I would like to acknowledge Dr Mark Askew, the team at the National Catholic Education Commission, and all the Catholic education officers and schools for their contributions. If you've not had an opportunity to order this commemorative book, which is available in paperback and hardcover, I would warmly encourage you to order the book via the 200 Years website. It would make a great addition to school libraries or as a bicentenary memento. But now it's my great pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr Lyn Sharratt. One of our national strategic priorities, as you would expect, is to support the continual improvement of educational outcomes for all students. This year's Faith in the Future virtual symposium keynote presentation is titled, This is the Work, and is exploring the alignment, focus and resolve of teachers and leaders, guided by educational research to drive school improvement so that every student meets their potential. Dr Lyn Sharratt has worked extensively in Catholic schools across Australia in school improvement, professional development and leadership. She is a highly accomplished author, researcher and practitioner working in remote and urban settings worldwide. Dr Sharratt is an advisor for international school leadership with the Ontario Principals Council, an author consultant for Corwin Press, and consults internationally, working with system, school and teacher leaders at all levels in Australia, Canada, Chile, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom and the United States. I'm delighted to welcome Dr Lyn Sharratt to the Faith in the Future virtual symposium.
Thank you so much, Jacinta. It's my great pleasure to be with everyone in talking to you and sharing stories of the work across Catholic schools in Australia. So please allow me to acknowledge our elders, past, present, and emerging, on our lands where I live, on Lake Huron in Ontario, also across Canada, and across the lands where you live in Australia. These days, it's about Thanksgiving here in Canada, and our First Nations peoples taught us how to plant the seeds, to till, to sow, to gather the harvest. And so our Thanksgiving during this time is celebrated with our First Nations people. My work is happening right across the globe, very inspiring, as Jacinta said. It's also specifically happening in Australia, right across the diocese in Australia. And I want to celebrate their work during this session. The work is about having emotional connections and cognitive insights to each voice. And those beautiful voices and faces we saw during that inspiring opening really shows us that this is the work, how to ensure that every student not only reaches their potential, but exceeds their potential. And we're open to that learning. It starts with alignment, system alignment, alignment from a diocese perspective through to the schools and into the classrooms, so that each leader and teacher knows the big picture and the smaller picture of who the students are in their care. Michael Fullen and I have investigated what does it take to improve systems and schools. And we found in our research that there are 14 areas that make a difference. So these areas aren't new to you, but what might be is that they must all work together for system alignment. Excuse me. And Michael called these areas of improvement the 14 parameters. And there are 3 of those parameters that are non-negotiable. Parameter 1 and 14 are the bookends: shared beliefs and understandings, and shared responsibility and accountability. And of course, parameter 6, that case management approach, where we put faces on the data and know how to teach each student. This happens right across the globe in our work. Michael and I reach out to many jurisdictions and do this work alongside our colleagues. So here's a wonderful faces on the data wall from the Diocese of Wakanya-Forbes, where Jude Ryan is the principal in Condobolin. And it really shows not only who the faces are, where they have been, but also where they can be in that very specific assessment that improves instruction. And you'll see across the top of that data wall, the 14 parameters are right there for the teachers to take a look at where they are and where they need to go next. So it's a self-assessment tool. In working in the Diocese of Maitland-Newcastle, we started with what the parameters mean, each one of them. And then we really focused on what does it look like when we really have that shared belief and understanding, parameter 1. What does it look like in a case management approach when we know every face? And finally, what does it look like when we own all students' learning? So the non-negotiables for them and for all of us are parameters 1, 6, and 14. So let's take a look at each of those. Parameter 1 needs to be frequently revisited to ensure that everyone really does believe, yes, all students can learn in this school, in this network, across our diocese. All teachers can teach to high standards given the right assistance. We all have high expectations and early and ongoing intervention. And all of us, leaders, teachers, and students, can clearly articulate why they do what they do. Now here's Ivan. Thanks to Vicki Whistle in Max, the Eastern region, who shared this video with me. See if you think that Ivan is assessment capable. Have a listen.
Hey Mum, today guess what? I went up to level 21. And guess what? I was on to 20, and guess what? I went up a level, and Miss Max said it wasn't easy. So now I'm up to level 21, and I'm really proud of myself. Next term, I'm going to try and get up to level 28. That's one of the highest you can get. And also, I'm also improving on my writing and reading skills. And these are all my good friends. There goes Tommy. Say hey, Ryder. Hi. Yeah, I'm trying to improve on my social skills like it wanted me. So, love you, Mum, and see you.
I do think that Ivan is absolutely assessment capable. He's the face of excellence and access. He really knows how to learn, and he knows what his mom wants him to learn as well. So for me, Ivan is about equity. It's about knowing all of our faces and how to teach each. Excellence and access. So parameter 1 moves us then to the other non-negotiable, parameter 6. And when we think about parameter 6, the case management approach, we think about who are our students and how is each one doing. We do that by co-constructing data walls. In a discrete or a private place, we call them questioning walls or wonder walls, where teachers and leaders together can look at the faces, have rich discussions about how to teach each face and how to move them to the next level. So for me, data walls flow onto case management meetings, and case management meetings are the other prong of parameter 6. I discussed that in chapter 7 in clarity. It's about putting your faces on your data. It's about having a data wall in a discrete place. And here in the Diocese of Parramatta, we've looked at data walls in a way that makes them become wondering walls. Do we know all these students? What do we know about these students? Who else has taught this student? And how can we ensure that all students are improving? To me, again, that's an equity issue because it's about all students having excellent instruction and access to just-in-time resources. So in Parramatta, they not only focus on data walls that lead to case management meetings, but they do learning walks and talks as well to ensure that everyone is having those rich discussions about the faces of our students. Here's the key for this data wall in a secondary school. And you can see all the girls' pictures are on the wall, again, in this private place, where they're focused on persuasive writing and ensuring that every student in their care is excelling. Here's a reading wall in the Diocese of Lismore. And you can see that many of the places on the wall have notes, and those notes and those stickies have real meaning for the teachers who co-constructed this wall alongside their leaders. And now they're moving from the reading data wall to constructing and co-constructing a writing data wall. What I notice about this one under construction is that it's movable. It's collapsible, so it can go in a private place and be brought out to be discussed at the beginning of every meeting. Here's another one in Sydney Catholic Schools, where Kate O'Brien and I have worked diligently around putting faces on the data, both in primary schools and in this secondary school and across all secondary schools. And here we are in Max, in the Eastern region, where Carolyn Gumley and Marwin Osterberry and her guiding coalition look at all the faces in all their schools. They have a direct line of sight to every face in their schools. And it's through co-construction, like at St. Bernadette's the Basin, where the teachers and leaders together are looking at the data, and then they're displaying the data, and then they're thinking about how they'll move the data along that data wall. In Catholic education, Western Australia, Peter Jones and his team at Newman College, a very large college with an early years component, a primary school and a secondary school, use a learning journey map to really chronicle their journey. And also you'll see QR codes there. And in the QR codes, you'll see examples of their templates for their case management meetings. You'll see the data walls that they've co-constructed, and that in the early years, they focused on a reading data wall. In their primary school, they focused on a reading and maths data wall. And at secondary, they focused on a literacy data wall that really reflects parameter 13, that cross-curricular literacy and critical thinking component of every subject area. So data walls are about conversations and leading to the case management meeting. And here in the special school, the teachers have gathered around their data wall to hold a case management meeting. And they're talking about their students. And I really appreciate how they've thought about their students. None of their students are stationary. Most of them, all of them, are moving. And what they're having a conversation about is how they can get their students to be jumping or exceeding the goal. So there's no one right way to build a data wall. What's most important is that it's co-constructed and leads to case management meetings. Let's listen in as teacher Laura talks about the data they're using and how the data wall has really inspired teachers to understand accurately what data is and what it can contribute to teaching.
It has also changed the way we look at assessment and assessment data. We have created a data wall in our staff room in which for numeracy we are able to now use the data that we have collected from students in order to track where they are. And we are placing each of their photos on the data wall to keep a track of exactly where our kids are at. And in terms of being a teacher, it means that we can have a look across the school at where every student is at. Children and I.
Pretty exciting for me to have Jared Mowbray and Breed and Suzanne and all the senior team in the Diocese of Maitland-Newcastle leading this work. And as Jared says, this is our forever work. And of course, the forever work is about parameter 1, parameter 6, and also parameter 14, which is our shared responsibility and accountability to own all the faces in our care. And notice that responsibility comes first for us. Michael and I said, if everyone is responsible for every face and even cares about the faces of students down the road as much as they do as the faces in their own school, then accountability will follow naturally. So shared responsibility and accountability is owning all the faces of the learners in your care. It's about leaders who understand what assessment practices look like in every classroom, kindergarten to year 12, and how those assessment practices are data that really inform our next steps in instruction. So this, to me, the waterfall chart on page 124 in Clarity is about important practices that really make a difference to all students. And we want to see those practices in every classroom. These are the look-fors that really engage our teachers and leaders together to ensure there's precision in practice in every classroom. Now, in Jude Ryan's school, she uses the self-assessment tool. It's the waterfall chart, but the teachers and leaders together, after conducting learning walks and talks in their classroom, come to the assessment waterfall chart and self-assess. What do we know we're doing well? What do we need to still work on? And of course, they organize to have teachers teaching teachers what precision in practice looks like in every classroom in the Diocese of Wilcannia-Forbes. So I mentioned learning walks and talks. They can start with ghost walks, and that is teachers and leaders walking together without students in the classroom, but looking for evidence of the assessment waterfall chart, looking for evidence of the third teacher, that culture of learning that is developed in every classroom, and also looking for evidence of students thinking. And ghost walks lead into learning walks and talks. And these are the criteria that we developed in the Diocese of Parramatta to look at instructional walks and talks that teachers and leaders do every day in their school, and system leaders do when they are out in schools. So we first thought about instructional walks and talks, and I've morphed them into learning walks and talks because yes, we're looking at evidence of instruction, strong practice, but we're also looking at the learning in the whole school. The evidence, as I said, of the third teacher, those learning walls. And we're looking to see how our students who were at case management meetings are doing during those walks and talks by asking 5 questions. We're looking for evidence of bump it up walls. And really, I think bump it up walls are learning walls. They have the task outlined. They have the learning intentions on the wall and the success criteria that are being co-constructed during units of study. They also have exemplars for students to use to really come to the wall and decide where they are and where they need to go next. They're not just in primary schools, they're in secondary schools. And here in Brisbane Catholic Education, at one of their colleges, they've developed learning posters in every subject area that really send the message, C is not good enough. We need to look at our success criteria to ensure that every student can achieve an A or work towards an A. So around the bump it up wall in year 11 English are the success criteria for C. And the students and teachers have worked on what it would look like in this piece of writing if it was an A piece of writing. And this just isn't in English. It's also in year 12 chemistry. What's a C look like and what's an A look like? They shouldn't be surprises for students. Students need to know how to be successful and how to achieve an A. So we need to stretch our students way beyond what we thought was ever possible.
Hi, Carter.
So I'm going to introduce you to one of the students from Brisbane Catholic, Carter. And I want you to listen to these 5 questions and his answers. Do you think that Carter is assessment capable? Have a listen.
Hi, Carter. How are you?
Good.
Carter, can we talk about your learning today?
Yes.
Great. Carter, in your piece of writing here in English, what have you been learning about?
Making a personal preference.
What have you been making a personal preference about?
A book or an illustrator.
Great. Excellent. Or an author?
Yeah.
Great. Carter, how did you go with your learning?
Good.
How do you know that you did a good job?
Because I followed the success criteria.
Great. Carter, can you quickly tell me what the success criteria does for your learning?
It does so it helps us with our learning to be a great person at writing.
Yep, so it helps you know what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Carter, what do you need to do to improve your writing?
I need to put some capital letters at the start. And I also need to do make my what is it? My sight words
Yep.
all correct.
What could you use to help you with your sight words?
My magic words.
Yeah, the magic words in your toolkit.
Yes.
Awesome. Carter, if you were to get stuck in class, where could you go to for help?
The success criteria.
Yep.
A friend.
Sure.
And you.
Great. Great learning, Carter. Keep it up.
I never get tired of watching and listening to Carter. To me, Carter is assessment capable. He's really understood what he's learning, and he's understood and can clearly articulate how he can improve, what he needs to do in his learning. And it's important for us to realize that these 5 questions are connected to that waterfall chart. They really tell us if there's precision in practice in the classroom and if students are understanding how to be successful. So we see that students in all jurisdictions are really becoming assessment capable right across Catholic education. They can answer the 5 questions, and we see evidence of improvement like this. Catholic Education Western Australia, where I worked with secondary schools right across Western Australia. And you can see the evidence in their improvement. Catholic Education Western Australia in their secondary schools rose way beyond Australian mean, the Western Australia state mean, and accomplished a great deal by having that precision in practice in every classroom, and celebrating students and teachers together became assessment capable. Here's one of the colleges in Western Australia, and they focused on writing and really collectively developed an assessment tool that assessed writing right across the college in every subject area. And look at the amazing results they got from that specificity, from knowing how to develop a common assessment task and then collaboratively assess the work and really celebrate the student success that they achieved. You remember looking at St. Bernadette's Catholic Primary School in Max, and look at their improvement, and their improvement just continues. They're the blue line at the top. So this is reading years 3 to 5 over 5 years. And this is numeracy. So again, watch that blue line. And I love when the results move to the northeast of the grid. It's because of the specificity of the teaching. It's because the waterfall chart is in place. co-constructed success criteria that are really from the syllabus and the deconstructed learning intentions. They lead to teachers and students being able to give each other feedback against the success criteria, to peer and self-assess, and students to set individual goals, again, against the success criteria in a unit of study. Such astounding results we see in so many ways. And know that not only do we see the quantitative results in graphs like this and results like this, but we also see it in other ways, like in student writing. And in the Diocese of Lismore, they're looking at how students' writing has progressed and improved, given the fact that they've worked so diligently on the assessment waterfall chart that leads to differentiating their instruction. So here's student work in May and again in October. What a difference. And students can clearly articulate what that difference is. I'm really excited that Sally Egan and the team at the Catholic Commission are gathering this impact and evidence that's occurring in Catholic schools right across Australia. And they're thinking about and investigating how to support this work. So inspiring for me. So does this clarity work make a difference? Absolutely. And it wasn't long ago that the Diocese of Wollongong had an amazing learning fair, and they celebrated the small wins in each of their schools. And we're celebrating their big win in terms of the increases they're experiencing in the NAPLAN results. So take a look at that last sentence. This is the best numeracy result in year 5 since the beginning of the NAPLAN assessment in 2008. Does this work? Absolutely. The work of clarity, what matters most in learning, teaching, and leading, makes a difference. It's evidence proven, and the Catholic schools right across Australia are showing and demonstrating that work and how it makes a difference. So what do we have to pay attention to as successful system and school leaders? We have to ensure that we have a direct line of sight to every classroom, to every face, and know that precision in practice is happening in every classroom, kindergarten to year 12. It's alignment. It's that developing of a common language. It's clearly stating the vision that it's our forever work, increasingly getting better at our craft of teaching and learning. So I meet strategic leaders everywhere, and I've mentioned a few of the dioceses that are doing this work today. They all have strategic leadership at their core. They have a team, a collaborative team of teachers and leaders who have a great impact on student outcomes, specifically when they understand the look-fors of assessment that differentiates instruction, specifically when they conduct learning walks and talks together in every school, and consistently they have knowledgeable others in their schools. And in the case of the Diocese of Wollongong, they have an instructional coach part-time in every school. And many of the dioceses have chosen that. It's parameter 2. All of us need to walk alongside a knowledgeable other, whether we're engaged in learning walks and talks or in those case management meetings. Knowledgeable others need to be at our side. And so I'm always asking, who is your knowledgeable other? And who are you a knowledgeable other to? And future sustainability, well, for us, it's staying the course. with relentless consistency. For me, it's about measuring impact as an individual and a member of a team. It's about using student work as evidence of growth. It's about co-constructing success criteria so that every student knows how to improve. And it's about integrating those 14 parameters into every single document that we prepare so that our vision is very clear. Our vision's parameter 1, parameter 6, and parameter 14, putting faces on the data, having shared beliefs and understandings, and being responsible and accountable for each learner in our care. And when that happens, you get this kind of a video. This is one that regiments O'Connor Catholic Collegiate Principal and Chris Smythe, one of our directors of education in the Diocese of Armidale, sent me this video, and it really is a celebration of teachers and leaders learning together and students benefiting. Now, I won't be able to play all of this video, but I want you to take a look at, where to go, how amazingly this work has made a difference in the Diocese of Armidale.
Really important that we work to meet the needs of the kids in our classroom so that everyone achieves success and everyone can reach their own learning goals.
I think we needed to change because one of the things that we were noticing were students weren't really grabbing why they were learning things.
We looked at some of the trends that are happening around the world and some of the successes, and it was found that we probably needed to make some pedagogical changes to cater for learners in the 21st century.
So there's been a large focus on differentiation in order to increase and maintain student engagement. Well,
since we've started this journey, there's been a distinct increase in professional development of teachers, especially around pedagogy.
I have seen teachers be more active learners, which is exciting because no longer are we expecting to use the same tests or the textbooks that we were once using. We are now adapting to what our students' needs are to make them more engaged in the classroom, which is our job.
So now we have learning intentions and success criteria embedded in our programs and in every lesson. Students are really aware of what's required of them in every single lesson, not just for an entire unit of work.
I really feel like that I have a lot more ownership and I know what we're learning about. And yeah, compared to like year 7 to 10, you know what you have to know and get through.
And when we changed to learning intentions and success criteria, students were able to articulate what they were learning, and we noticed that they were able to engage a bit better.
Learning is visible to students and students have greater ownership of what they're doing in the classroom and can see those links to the real
world. I'm going to finish it there. But you know, you can go to any Catholic school across Australia and ask those 5 questions, and students can answer, and they know where to go for help beyond the teacher. Have a listen to Cooper from the Diocese of Cairns and how he knows where to go in his classroom so that he doesn't always have to rely on the teacher. He's a resilient, interdependent learner. Have a listen.
Learning library on the TV, which we can access our learning. We plug our headphones into this little, we can go into 5 headphones at a time for this. And then we can all listen to a specific lesson that we choose to watch, and we can pretty much learn a lot from this.
Okay, so why do we go and use our learning library in our rotations or a part of our learning?
The learning library can be another place
of going to the teacher if we need help at certain times. And we can improve our learning from watching and that. It can help us achieve all sorts of different goals. And we can learn a lot from
So Cooper, in Adam Halliday's class, knows where to go to learn, where he can get help. And it's right there in his classroom, the third teacher. In the Diocese of Wagga Wagga, I've been working for several years now, and we had a most amazing learning fair, all virtually. And the virtual learning fair really caused a celebration. And I want you to listen in to just part of a learning fair presentation from St. Anne's in North Albury. So this is Santa, and this is their partial learning fair presentation. Have a listen. It says everything about this work.
An ode to the learning collaborative. At St. Anne's, our colleagues like to collaborate. We embrace the teachings of Lyn Sharratt, our mate. Here's a snapshot of our learning approach at SANA, engaging the students in a quality manner. Our culture and face of learning at its best. We never teach just to a test. Everything is student-led, high expectations we embed. From open-ended questions and critical thinking, student-centred learning stops the students from sinking. Teaching the students using a bumpered-up wall, a chart with questioning from Lyn's Waterfall. Learning intentions are a normal part of our day, setting the success criteria with the students contributing with their say. Where assessment informs where to go next, teachers and students work together for integrated thinking success. We have case management meetings where we share our ideas to help with student intervention, learning collaboratively from our peers. The 14 parameters help our students to become inquiry learners. We are lighting the education fire in the students, igniting their burners. Technology being a current resource to help the young readers. We continue to work towards students becoming our world's future leaders. Building a sense of community of who are knowledgeable and supported. We are nailing this learning collaborative. We think we've got it all sorted.
I love being their mate. I love being the mate of Catholic schools right across Australia. I'm so inspired by this work. So thank you, Bede Hart, Principal of St. Anne's, and your staff. You're doing amazing work in the Diocese of Wagga Wagga. And talk about being inspired. This clarity work, my life's work, is now available 24/7, and that's with the Clarity Learning Suite embedded in the Catholic Diocese of South Australia, for example. The Director of Education, Neil McGoran, and John Mula, together with their senior leadership team and staff of every school, have engaged in the Clarity Learning Suite. We began this work well before COVID, never thinking that we would need strong professional learning via ongoing 24/7 technology. But my colleagues, Sue Walsh from the Diocese of Parramatta, and Mike and Maggie Ogram from New Zealand, and my husband Jim Coots and I have formed a team, a small but mighty team, to put clarity in action. And for me, it's an opportunity to reach as many dioceses, government schools, and independent schools as we can, to ensure that all students are growing and achieving. That's my lifelong goal, to ensure that every student has excellent teaching, access to the most effective resources that we can find to ensure that all teachers and leaders know how to teach all students. It's an equity issue for me. So again, as I close, I want to focus on systemness. Systemness is developing that common language through the Clarity Learning Suite to ensure that there is precision in practice in every classroom, and we own the faces of all students. It's about leadership, and every parameter is highlighted, underlined, underpinned by leadership. All of us are leaders, and we must never, ever give up. Thank you so much for inviting me in to this forum. I've really enjoyed it. My only wish is that I could be there with you in person, but this is the next best thing. Thank you so much for including me on your learning journey. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sally Egan. Sally.
Thanks, Lyn, and sincere thanks from us here in Sydney to really congratulate you on the great work you've done this afternoon, but importantly, the work you've done in our Catholic schools. This afternoon, we were reminded here in Australia of the important work that you do in regards to making sure that we have shared understandings and beliefs, and that parameter 14. We have that shared responsibility and accountability as we commit to ensuring that every student learns and grows every year.